Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It is 5 o'clock. Right, so I will declare the meeting open. Start with the acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Dartmouth wishes to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Noongar people. In doing this, we recognise and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this region, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. The Shire of Dartmouth also respects and celebrates all cultures of all our residents and visitors to our Shire. Emergency procedure will be, if in the case of an emergency, we'll exit the building through the green, under the green arrow door, green man there, and the roll call will be over in the Eaton Boomers car park. The affirmation of civic duty and responsibilities there for councillors and staff, and in accordance with section 5.23A of the Local Government Act 1995 and part 2A of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, video or audio recordings of council meetings apply to all ordinary and special council meetings of the Shire of Dartmouth. All recordings will be retained as part of the Shire of Dartmouth records and will be made available to the public via the Shire of Dartmouth website, excluding recordings of matters the council takes behind closed doors. Part 2, attendance. We have who's here. And we have, because it's a newer council and some newer staff members, we're going to rock around the room a little bit this afternoon. I'll start with our newest member, our new Director of Community and Economic Development, Craig Johnson, has started this week, day 2, day 3. Day 3. Welcome to the team, Craig. Look forward to working with you. And starting over here, we've got Christy Burden, is our Manager of HR. Natalie Reid, our procurement officer's there. Sean, our IT man, is here. And next to Sean, we have Darcy Rowe, who's a governance administration officer. He's been with the council for a while, but we don't see him in here much, but we'll look him up a bit more. Welcome along, Darcy. And over to our new councillors that haven't met, Rehan, we have Manager of Finances, who's also acting in the Director of Corporate section while the Director of Corporate Governance is on leave. Cindy, everyone knows now Cindy. They're the go-to people for councillors. And Tanya's down the back. Don't forget Tanya, our communications officer. So that's everyone that needs to be introduced. Apologies. An apology from Corporate Governance. Don't have any more apologies. Okay, we'll move on. Don't have any leave of absence. Previous meetings is there. 3, response to previous public questions taken on notice. There are none. Public question time. I have some public questions. Questions from Andrew White and Jill Cross. Who wants to go first?
Mr. President, if I do the little bull and barrel presentation first?
That happens later on.
Oh, does it? All right.
You go first, Jill. You got a list there.
So last night we had our Dardanup Residents Association meeting. Is this on?
Sorry, try again.
Apologies. And there are a couple of issues that came out of that meeting. I'm not sure whether councillors have seen the questions, right? So just to reiterate, for the benefit of the new councillors, one of the issues was the cost of waste disposal for rural residents who don't have the opportunity of a curbside pickup. So with the residents who do have a curbside pickup, the 3-bin system costs $3 per bin, and under the 2-bin system, it's approximately $3.25 per bin. So that's a mixture with the 3 bins, obviously the FOGO, the recycling and the general waste. So the cost to residents who don't have a curbside option and have to take their bins to the waste transfer station is $13.50 per bin. If you're using the 20 tip pass system. And that 20 tip pass has also gone up from $68 in 23-24 to $270 in 25-26. So we had quite a few concerned rural residents last night, just basically asking why there is this inequity between the two residents, considering in the main we all pay our rates. And when you take your bins to the transfer station, it's not an easy process either because especially if you're recycling, you've got to hoik your bin up into the square bins that are provided and also dispose of in the other bins. So it's the whole thing's not an easy process, but we don't have an option. So that is the question, is why there is, the first question is why there is this inequity with the two systems. And question two, does the Shire not consider that the high cost of rural residents disposing of their waste will end up with more illegal dumping or residents using public bins, such as the bins at the hall, and also illegal burning in out of restriction time? And question three, I acknowledge that the Shire may be moving to curbside collection for all next year, but in the meantime, how do rural residents manage this cost? And then the fourth question is, just an aside, people were very interested last night in finding out what is the future of FOGO in this Shire.
Thanks, Jill. It's very topical, and we have discussed that curbside stuff recently. I'm going to pass it over to Theo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hi, Jill. The first question, about the inequity between the two services. Councillors, it's a distinct two different services, curbside pickup versus the waste transfer station.
Excuse me, could you lean forward? I can't hear you.
Sure. That better?
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so it's distinct two different services, the curbside pickup and the waste transfer station, with the associated costs. So what we do is, at the waste transfer station, the cost is much higher, and we just try to cover our costs for the operation and processing of the waste. So that's why the one is higher than that one. It just costs more to do it at the waste transfer station.
Is that fair though?
Well, I suppose it's not older. It's the options we've got at the moment. That's why we are looking at rolling out a bigger service to the rural area and give everybody the same opportunity to make use of the curbside pickup as well.
But in the interim, Theo and councillors, isn't there something that's a bit fairer than, I mean, I'm sure if all of you had to pay, and some of you may pay the $13.50, I don't know, but that's a huge and an increase from 68 through to 270. That just seems poor management, if you ask me. And I just don't think that's fair and reasonable that you're asking rural residents, when we all pay our rates, to pay that huge increase per bin. I think there needs to be some offset that the staff and councillors need to consider.
Just jump in, Jill. Look, it's certainly something we're looking at, and it's the rolling out and the timing is probably a topical one. Something for us to possibly look at is that difference in the interim. Certainly something we can't debate or discuss here and now. Taking your questions on notice. Certainly, the whole waste thing is quite topical at the moment, and there'll be more coming back in the December meeting. Did you wish to add any more, Mr. CEO?
Thanks, Mr. President. Jill, we actually did ask the contractor more than 12 months ago if we could expand the service to the full rural area. Unfortunately, it took quite some time for them to get back to us. By the time they got back to us, we had already set the budget and the fees. So we've now had a workshop with Council at the beginning of November, and we're bringing an item back to Council about this in December, where we're going to try to look at the timing of rolling it out to the rural area. It's more than likely that it will only start on the 1st of July. We will see what we can do to bring it any earlier. And we do need to give people notice of the change to their charges. When we're doing that, and generally that's done through interim rates that's sent out, although we will send out a letter prior to that happening. So this will be considered by Council in more detail in the December meeting. We have similar concerns when we saw what the cost is for running the waste transfer station and associated cost, and that's why we asked the provider to early provide us with that contracting cost. Unfortunately, it wasn't available until after we set the budget and the fees. So that's the framework that we're working in at the moment. We are working with council and trying to resolve that as quickly as we can.
Maybe when you've come up with an idea, you could let all the rural residents know, but I would have thought maybe sharing the load might have been, so maybe the residents who pay for curbside, maybe they could pay a little bit more, and then the rural residents could have paid a little bit less. Anyhow, it's a thought.
Through the chair, you can't actually do that. You have to pass on the fees associated with the service that you're running. You can't cross subsidise services. It's not quite allowed in the process. It would be unfair to charge people for a higher service if that's not what the costs are associated with it.
Okay, well maybe some tip passes might be, free tip passes might be a,
We'll put an item to council in December for consideration too.
Okay, thanks Andre, thanks Mr President.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I don't know if there were any of the other three questions that, are you satisfied with those being answered adequately?
Well, I suppose you've answered it, yep.
So we'll go to FOGO then. We just came out of a meeting this afternoon and the Shire of Dardanup has taken a leading role in trying to find a solution for not only ourselves but also the other local governments in the southwest that is using FOGO. We had a meeting this afternoon with some of TUA's officers following a number of meetings with the Minister's office. We believe there is an interim solution out there. It's a matter of whether or not the state government is willing to assist with coming to that solution. And we've had some very progressive conversations around that, including one today. Can't give you the details about that yet, Jill, because we don't have anything concrete either, so sharing it would be inappropriate. We are hoping to put an item to council in December to outline what the options are for us moving forward with FOGO, or whether or not, if the state government doesn't come to the party, whether or not we will have to abandon FOGO process. Now that is a real option that has been discussed with council. It's not one that we as officers or even as council may want to go down the path, but if we cannot find a solution and if the state government cannot assist with that solution, it's likely that that may be the outcome. So I don't want to preempt it. We'll bring an item back to council as soon as we can and we're hoping to bring that in December as well.
Thank you, Mr President. I've got some other questions on behalf of the Environmental Action Group, but I think Andrew had some questions about the bins, so maybe I'll let him see we're on that topic.
Thanks, Jill. Andrew, you've got questions? Go for it.
I do. One is a rhetorical question, not on notice. How many people in here actually have to take their rubbish to the tip or don't have a curbside collection? That's what I thought. Okay.
I do take rubbish to the tip.
You do?
Yes, I do. I have a curbside
Sorry,
collection.
Councillor Hutchkin.
I have a curbside collection for a house, but on the farm I have rubbish and I take it over to the Dardanup transfer station.
How heavy are those bins?
Over that rail that you've got to tip into the bins, fairly awkward, yes.
Thank you. My first question is largely along the lines of what Jill has already asked. Why do I have to pay the equivalent of $13.75 per bin, and that's if I buy a 20 bin pass, compared to $3.25 for curbside collection? I have to say to you, it is completely inequitable, and if you're talking about subsidising costs, why are we subsidising the costs for the users of that transfer station who come from Bunbury and Cable and other areas?
Mr President, I suppose I've answered the question when Jill asked that. There's a difference in service. The one costs more than the other. The one can't cross-subsidise the other one. One of your other questions as well that you get to is why the increase, and Jill asked that as well, is because we actually didn't allocate all the money. We didn't actually on cost all the costs to the council previously. So this time so the general public basically subsidised it in a way. this time when we did the charges, we passed it all on. So now that's why that's such a huge increase to pay for the whole service. So the service at the waste transfer station just costs more than other. These are the two options: it's either waste transfer station or the curbside pickup, and that's what the cost is at the moment.
My next question is, why do rural residents on Ferguson Road, Toomey Road, etc. have curbside collection but not Crooked Brook Road?
So, Mr. President, that was the first stage of the rollout. We determined those that were close to the existing route. What we are doing now is looking at other areas, and that's what we propose to roll it out to the further areas in the Shire.
And what's the schedule for looking at it?
Well, we want to do it by July next year, in the new financial year. That's what we're aiming for.
We need 7 months more to look at it.
We do, that's right.
Okay.
It will require a council resolution, Andrew, so.
Sorry?
It will require a council resolution. So, yeah, that'll be dealt with hopefully next month, and then the rollout from there will come out of that resolution.
Question 3 has already been asked by Jill, and it was the extreme increase in cost to dump my rubbish from $68 when I first started 5 years ago to, the cost that it is now, which is about $1,400 a year. Is everyone aware of that? $1,400 a year to dump my rubbish. We're not extreme. I take great care to burn whatever can be burnt during the burn season. We use the containers for change process, but we have a family that come down to visit us almost every week with young children, and I can't do anything further to reduce my rubbish. It would fit very nicely into the 3-bin system, but I urge you to do something as fast as possible, please, because the residents are starting to look at other options, and they're not all that pretty.
To Mr. President, councillors, yes, point taken. We are working as hard as we can, and we are desperately trying to get a better solution for the residents. So take note.
My 4th question is mixed recycling actually being recycled, and if so, where?
Yes, Mr. President, councillors, it is recycled by the contractor Veolia in Perth at their Bibra Lake Material Sorting Facility, and there's actually a very good video which we can send you a link if you want to see what the facility look like. There's a virtual tour going through the facility to see how they do it. So they actually do a very proper job of it.
And who does that, sorry? Who's the contractor?
The contractor is Veolia. That's our contractor.
Okay. I just want to close by saying I'm very unhappy about it, and I think the council really needs to step on the accelerator with this. Please, I'm asking you all, do something about it. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Jill, I haven't got it in front of me, did you have another question, did you?
Yes, I did, Mr. President. This is on behalf of the Dardanup Environmental Action Group. Question 1, what is the Shire's stance on the future of the Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council FOGO processing facility at Crooked Brook once the PFAS contaminated FOGO has been removed? And question 2, what current testing of soil and shallow water has the Shire requested of Department of Water Environment Regulation or Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council, given that the contaminated FOGO has been sitting outside the hard stand for quite some time, bearing in mind that the neighbours, well anyone really in the vicinity, we don't want to find that we're in the same predicament as those people who are living around the Stanley Road refuse site where their water has been contaminated by PFAS. So, you know, if there is any contamination, we'd like to know earlier rather than later. Thank you.
Through Mr. President, councillors, yes, Jill, the council's, our stance is that we don't want the FOGO at our facility. Yeah, our preference is that it goes to Stanley Road, so that's always been the preference and that's where we want it. We want the site, all the material removed and cleared up and rehabilitated. That's ultimately what we want from our side.
How much weight will you have in making sure that that FOGO in future goes to Stanley Road, Theo?
That's kind of the discussion we had this afternoon that Andre alluded to, Jill. There's a lot of things happening. We've taken the lead as a Shire with all the other councils around us. and we are really pushing for it. And we had a good meeting today on always a glass half full person. I believe we are going in the right direction, but yeah, we'll get back to council in December with the report.
And what about the testing?
The testing, we haven't requested any further testing apart from what is enforced by or requested by DOER. They are the responsible body for that, so we haven't requested anything in addition.
Do you think it would be a good idea to request some testing?
Sorry, if I could just add to that with the answers. In the meeting today that we had with the DOER officers, there was some information that came to light which was somewhat comforting. We will be following up on that meeting to ask for further information. So we don't have that detail from them yet, but it does seem like that they've got some information that we could request from them, and we will certainly do that. But we weren't aware of that information being available until today. So it unfortunately is an hour-old news for us, so we'll follow that up.
Okay, so if that information becomes available, you'll pass that on to our group or the residents?
It depends on how we get it.
Right,
So if we get it through a freedom of information process, we may not be able to on-share that. But if we do get it freely or get it as public information, then that might be a different way of sharing it.
okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Jill. Public questions. Item 5, applications for leave of absence. There are none. Petitions, deputations and presentations, we've got a couple today. I'll do Jill first, can I? Then you can have a go. Jill, you're back.
Yes, wearing a bit more pleasant hat this time.
Your other hat on, yes.
On behalf of the Dartmouth Bull and Barrel Festival Committee, I'd like to sincerely thank councillors and staff for supporting the festival, councillors for providing the funding, and staff for doing all the work around Dardanup in preparation for the festival. In particular, there's some staff that I'd like to make mention of who made our lives a lot easier. Mick Jeffrey, Nigel Lyne, Neil Nicholson and Caitlin Roberts, Kylie Tucker and Mel Ring, if someone could pass on our thanks to those people. This year we had a few challenges with the festival because we lost our Healthway funding like the Shire of Dardanup did. So we had the challenge of finding some more funding and also sorting out our communications at the festival site. So as far as the funding went, we were quite successful in attracting some more corporate funding, and we also auctioned a car this year and we sold quite a few tickets to that. So the proceeds of that car will ensure that the festival's finances are quite healthy for the next couple of years, because bearing in mind if we happen to have a wet year, which is always very possible, then we're not going to have the income that we were relying on. Our communications, we're still working on that, and we've got a few ideas for next year. So we did try, but what we tried didn't work, so we're continuing on there. The festival, there's a snapshot. Oh, yep, you've all got that. Wonderful. So as you can see, we estimated probably about 20,000 people attended. We were really lucky in that the weather was perfect. So of course that, weather just makes or breaks an event. And we were really fortunate this year because we did have the perfect weather. And we estimate there was 337 hours of volunteer community work. So that's the week of setting up on the day and then also packing up. So it's considerable volunteer hours. We've got a fantastic committee and there's 12 community groups involved. So that's why the festival is so successful, because of those 12 community groups that either support us through organising their own food stalls, or the Dardanup Playgroup runs a baby change facility, which is very popular at the festival. They give out fruit and all sorts of things. And so we pay them for that service. And then the Dardanup PNC, they also tutor in the craft tent, which all the craft activities are free. So it just makes for the Dardanup Lions Club, of course, run the bar. So it just makes for an all-round wonderful event with everyone supporting it. We've got 32 corporate sponsors now. Some of those are in-kind sponsors. And we don't take any of those for granted. We've just visited all of our sponsors and personally thanked them, given them a little gift of Ferguson Valley wine, which they appreciated. And also the festival is a promotion, of course, for local industry, agriculture, the tourism and the businesses. So we had 11 of the Ferguson Valley vignerons and plus the one brewery in the Taste of Ferguson Valley marquee on the day. So all in all, really good festival. We've had our final meeting and everyone's really enthusiastic about next year's festival. And of course the fire sculpture went off without a hitch as well, which is quite an attraction and unique in the state, I would think. So I've just got a little presentation there. I'll leave this with Cindy. There's some little eats there for the staff for their morning tea tomorrow. So once again, thank you very much appreciated.
And congratulations to you and the committee, Jill. It was a really well-run event. It was huge. When I got there later in the afternoon, it was just people as far as you could see. One question for you though. No trouble in the Wells change room this year? We had enough water?
Fantastic, Tyrrell.
Excellent. So, and I think Councillor Gillespie's going to ask something.
Jill, just wanted a question, just to clarify, what's the issues with the communications there between volunteers or is it Wi-Fi?
No, we've all got walkie-talkies, so we communicate quite well. But no, the year before we had problems with Wi-Fi, so people, it was the vendors really more than anything, couldn't use their squares, all that sort of thing. So this year we organised a trailer which we thought should have provided communication for up to 1,000 vendors. We're not particularly concerned about the visitors to the festival, they've just got to work it out themselves unfortunately. But we thought we were right this year, but what we didn't realise was that a lot of the food trucks, even though we gave them the little login details on the day and said, you know, this is a login for our Wi-Fi, can you all use it please? And we didn't realise that the food trucks were using their own Starlink, and then that, for whatever reason, then blocked our communication. And so then everyone was having trouble. We were all sort of competing, and at that stage we couldn't really ask the food vendors to stop using their Starlink and to jump onto our system because ours wasn't working well enough. So we even ended up by using one of the Jason, who from St Aidan's, he let us use his Starlink for our merch and the wine tent, selling the wine glasses. So we would have had so we added to the problem, but we didn't have a choice at that stage. So, and probably we didn't communicate to all the food trucks and everything that they needed to use our system, but we weren't aware that they were going to. And they probably do this all the time at events, so that's something we need to communicate to them next year, that, you know, you cannot use your own system, you have to use ours, otherwise you're just making it difficult for everyone. So, but, you know, I think events notoriously, you know, when there are a lot of people, there are always problems with communication of that nature. That answer your question?
Yes.
Questions? Thanks again, Jill. We'll move on. Camilla from Plan Focus. 2.1.
So good afternoon, councillors. Sorry for my husky voice. I'll try and get through without coughing. I am the applicant and I'm the planning consultant in the Garden Court matter, and I represent Peter Breeze, the landowner, who's here with me as well. I'm here to support your request to end this matter. Ending this matter requires some fair, and we say reasonable judgment about actual real impact in this matter. And if that happens, the SAT procedures that are underway, this reconsideration can mean that that's withdrawn, that there's no more SAT. Unfortunately though, and as I've communicated just yesterday with each of you, the council report before you, it lacks some really critical information. It just doesn't give you the whole story, which is long. It's got a lot involved in it. And I hope that I've been able to shed some light at least share with you the other side of the story so that you're fully informed. As councillors representing the community in making this decision, of course you're obliged to be fully informed of all those facts. Most of the time, planners, and I'm one, I think we're pretty good at keeping councillors informed, of finding solutions, and really making choices about where we put our energy. But that unfortunately hasn't been so much the case in this situation. The last 18 months of this project, they've actually been very, very difficult. I could talk at length about all of those difficulties. Christmas Eve notices to cease with threats of $1 million fines, multiple SAT mediations just to get some basic information, selective assessment, even just amplifying issues, as if Peter and his truck increasing in size is something really horrific or noxious, with terrible widespread amenity impact or dangers that have to be policed. But I'm not going to go on about that. Peter just wants his DA to be issued so he can get back to work and without fear of prosecution happening again. This process, I want you to know that it's had a major impact on Peter and his wife Jerry. It's impacted his ability to earn a living, his mental health, and it's costed a lot. And it could have really been avoided. But to be fair, human nature, when you're given a hard time, you stand up for yourself. So it certainly hasn't been a case of wanting to be difficult. We want this resolved. I suppose planning, it's just not about power, teaching anyone a lesson. What this situation boils down to, and the decision that you've got to make, it's actually as simple as the difference between what's already approved and what's proposed. Does this actually warrant the harsh conditions that officers have put forward? That's it. It's about judging the difference between the approved home business truck, which is 4.5 tonnes. It's about the home business truck that the former landowner, Peter Edmonds, who I think probably people in the room know, another Peter, he actually ran home business, earth moving business for 10 years from this property with an 8-tonne truck and no complaints from the people we've now received a single complaint from. Comparing that to the 9.5 tonne, it is bigger, truck that Peter has to run the same home business. We say that we've jumped through all of the hoops and that we've done enough now to prove that there are no unreasonable impacts. That's the planning threshold. But in fact, there's no real impacts at all. The one neighbour, Tony Rolfson and Catherine Wood at 24 The Dress Circle, it's the property immediately to the south, they're actually the only complainants in this matter. The report that you've got, it kind of skims over it. There's actually a heck of a lot of people in support, far more in fact. The other people that wrote against, they don't actually live nearby and they're opposed to the idea of a truck. There already is a truck. This is a truck that gets bigger. As I said, all of the other neighbours have written in support. That's overwhelming acceptance. That's something that we really aim for as planners. It's a great indication that the project is right. We've got an acoustic report from one of the state's most highly respected acoustic engineers. And this says that not only is there no material difference between those sizes of trucks, and his measurement was of those trucks fully loaded. Peter doesn't bring the truck to the site fully loaded. It's his commuter vehicle, like my car back and forth to work. But he also says that there's no noise that's generated from when the truck enters the property, and for those that have been there, that traverse up the curved driveway and then parks near the house and the shed. That noise does not exceed any of the noise measurements. There's no noise problem. This is not a truck that runs alongside someone's bedroom. It just takes 1 minute to drive from Garden Court Drive and then park. And where it parks is 100 metres, so a sprint track, away from this nearest neighbour. This is a modern Euro 5 truck, which unlike older models, It takes very little time to start and warm up. It doesn't have to sit idle for 5, 10, 15 minutes before you can drive. It's less than 5 minutes turning on and driving out onto Garden Court Drive. And in terms of Garden Court Drive, there's actually no restriction on this truck driving on Garden Court Drive. Peter could drive back and forth as many times really as he wants. It's a car on the road. It's not an unrestricted vehicle. And as I said, there's no increase in the number of truck movements, just the size of the truck. Beyond that, there's several other factors that also support this. There's thick vegetation, there's sea containers. I stood here back in April, some familiar faces and some new, and the Shire approved those sea containers. They're very well positioned to protect and I think perception-wise block this view between neighbours. But Peter's property also sits higher than his neighbours, that's lower. So distance, vegetation, topography. As you all know, we've just heard about the Bull and Barrel and some other non-urban issues in the Shire. This is not a silent area. It's the Ferguson Valley. There's trucks, farming, tourists. There's a major vineyard that uses Garden Court Drive directly opposite Peter's house. They're a vineyard, but also a winery that does processing. So it's not a quiet area. People choose to live here and do the very thing that Peter wants to keep doing. And we all know that it's common across the Shire as well. So in conclusion, there's no basis in this approval. Very happy to see it approved. It's a logical decision to approve. But condition 4 in particular, 4B, is very, very restrictive. There's probably other fixes that I could talk to, but that is the simplest way to end this process. Now, I provided you with some alternative wording, and we're not just saying this is carte blanche, go for it, Peter, do whatever you want. The wording that we've proposed includes a requirement, a safeguard around no loading and unloading at night time, but also no idling of the truck. So that was the catalyst that sort of set the fuse on this issue. That hasn't occurred since Peter was made aware of it. There's actually no need for it. He agrees to that condition. I've also proposed some other wording which we're happy to accept, that Peter's limited to 1 entry and 1 exit in any overnight period. This is commuter vehicle. You know, it's one man. There's only so much work that he can get done, but more than happy for that. He said 1 minute to get in, 5 minutes to leave, and once. It's very unlikely that even that would be every night. Can't work 7 days a week, every day of the year. Just in wrapping up, just because you get a complaint, there's choice about how the Shire chooses to respond. You've got choice to weigh up about the costs and benefits of taking action and what the real impacts are of that pursuit. And from my experience and what I've lived through, but particularly what Peter and Jerry have lived through, I think it's been a bit misjudged in this matter, but there's ability right now to fix that and end that. So please, councillors, I hope, indeed, I'm sure Peter's trusting you to make the right decision and we can all just get on and leave this Garden Court truck matter behind us. So thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thanks, Canella. Any councillors got any questions? Okay, we'll move on. Thanks, Canella. Part 7 of the meeting, confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting with the correction noted on page 3. Happy to move that. Councillor Shaw second. Any discussion? Put to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous? Yep. Okay, item 8, announcements by presiding member without discussion. The Shire President monthly report. Just to add to that, the coastal rowing blessing of the fleet on Saturday. Councillors Hutchinson, Lawrence and Gillespie were also there, so good team Dardenham, and Councillor Gillespie was also blessing boats, so.
Being blessed.
Being blessed. It's a different sort of a blessing, wasn't it? So, no, that's my report for the month. 9, announcements of matters for which the meeting may be closed. There are 4 items there that the meeting will be closed towards the end. We'll move on to part 10, questions by members of which due notice has been given. There are none. Declarations of interest. Excuse me, many. From the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Andre Schonfeld, I have a financial interest in item 16.2, the Chief Executive Officer KPI Quarterly Report for July to September 2025 as it relates to CEO's performance. And also from the CEO, he's declared an impartiality interest in item 16.3, the Executive Officer Annual Performance Review for the financial year 26, the appointment of a consultant, and it will be accessing Mr. Schonfeld's performance. Also from the CEO, a financial interest in item 16.4, the secondary income declaration along service leave request due to the benefits being slightly different when taking half pay long service leave. Councillor Trevathan has declared a proximity interest in item 12.2.1, the SAP S31 reconsideration of commercial vehicle parking lot 24, number 111 Garden Court Drive. Councillor Trevathan's, the applicant is a neighbour of Councillor Trevathan and they share a boundary fence. Councillor Davies has declared an impartiality interest in item 12.4.1, they determined the tender for the Baracup change rooms due to Councillor Davies' sister being the captain of the Baracup women's cricket team. Councillor Janor has declared an impartiality interest in item 12.4.1, the Baracup change rooms design and construct. Councillor Janor's son plays for the Baracup cricket team. Councillor Gillespie has declared an impartiality interest in item 16.1, the Australian Day Citizen of the Year Awards, due to the possibility that a nominee may be associated with a club where Councillor Gillespie participates. Councillor Gillespie has declared a proximity interest in item 12.4.2, as that section of the Eaton foreshore that we will be dealing with the signage is opposite her property. I've declared an impartiality interest in item 12.4.3 to deal with the Ferguson Valley Bushfire Brigade, as I'm a member of the Ferguson Valley Bushfire Brigade, and I've also declared an impartiality interest in item 16.1, the Australia Day Citizen of the Year Awards. I have a family relationship with one of the nominees for the senior SIP. Any more declarations of interest?
Mr. President, I just want to correct the second one. The consultant won't be accessing my performance, they'll be assessing my
Assessing.
performance. We just need to correct that.
Assessing, yes.
I also need to declare interest in 12.3.1. Sorry.
Christiane, yep.
So that item relates to a conflict of interest with the band, which is the band that I'm in. So that's me.
Christy, yep. All for that. Okay, no more. We'll move on to reports of officers and committees to 12.2.1 on page 8. The State Administrative Tribunal reconsideration of the commercial vehicle parking lot 24, number 111 Garden Court Drive, Henty Road. Councillors, I'm prepared to move the officer recommendation with a slight change. At part 4, we could change from 6 AM to 5 AM. I've caused trouble already. We do have a proximity interest. Sorry, Councillor Trevathan. I'll leave the room. There's some flashcards for those. Having read them all out. Okay, councillors, Councillor Trevathan's left the room. I have moved that the officer recommendation with that change at part 4, that the parking from 5 AM, from 6 AM is moved to 5 AM.
I'll second that.
Second that, Mark. Thanks for that. Okay, councillors. Yep, we've been on a bit of a journey here. I think 5 AM, I do acknowledge that there was a delegated approval made earlier in the year with some discussion. There's a need probably for the applicant to be able to leave a little bit earlier, understanding how society's changed and the world's changed and the hours of operations have changed, but I do remain focused on the fact that that is a small holdings area up there and not a commercial parking or industrial estate. It's a bit of an increase from a previous approval. In tonnages, it's quite an increase, but it's still one truck, one operator, one family operating, so happy to support that. There is still the option to have outside of those hours, which some may think are quite restrictive, but there is still the opportunity to move further in and outside those hours by keeping a logbook. I have written a quick note to myself here about fatigue management. I am a little bit involved in the transport industry myself. To have too wide an opening of hours, fatigue management would come into play. So a 5 a.m. start, home by 7 p.m, ticks those fatigue management boxes. And that is probably all I've got to say at this moment. Councillor Hutchinson.
Just, Mr. President, would you consider 4A and we make it 7 days a week? As you said, times and things have changed. We operate in a society that works 7 days a week. I believe this would be a fairer option. Having said that, I am a little bit concerned about the some of the restrictions with the 20. For me, it's just an administrative part of it, but I think if we can get this solved tonight by having a 5 a.m. start and allowing the proponent to work 7 days a week, because we're in a 7-day-a-week society, I think we'd be on the right track.
So Councillor Hutchinson, remove 4A completely and make 4B
Yes.
total 4A?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll support that. Yep.
Sorry, Mr. President, I just want to clarify too, if I heard Councillor Hutchinson correctly, 4 would read, activities associated with commercial vehicle parking are only permitted to take place between the hours of 5 a.m. and 7 p.m, Monday to Sunday, not Saturday.
Yes.
No other activities associated with the use are permitted except 4, and then B will become A and A will be deleted. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
You want to add?
As a representative of the ratepayers, I'm disappointed that it's taken us so long to get the 18 months. It just blows me away. And I'm hoping that these changes tonight will put it to bed and let the proponent get on with life and business, and also free up our officers so that they can, in my eyes, and I'm not talking to the rest of the council, but in my eyes, they could spend their time a lot more productively out there, because we've got other things happening in our community with subdivisions. We've got Wanjoos and that, and our planning people need to be tied up in that, not on this stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. You got a question?
Yes, could I propose a slight potential addition to that change?
Amendment?
Can I move an amendment to your amendment?
Through the chair, maybe some clarification as to what you're trying to achieve. If it's a significant departure from what's there, then may not agree to the amendment to move the amendment.
Right, so a bit of background, so just wanting to change part B to read that truck movements outside of daylight hours are limited to 1 entry and 1 exit in an overnight period between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m, and not worry about the total of 20 instances. And I can talk to that if that's acceptable.
So
Would you
you're saying
consider that?
at any night, 1 movement in and out?
Yep, between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m, and then remove the rest.
It'll be 5 a.m. too.
Oh, and well, from 5 a.m, from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m.
1 movement any day?
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably getting a bit too far from where I'm sitting.
So through the chair, the correct procedure would then be to move an amendment.
Yep.
And to get a seconder for that. and then you can speak to, and the seconder can speak to.
Do that now or do we do that afterwards?
Well, I think the Shire President will call next for somebody speaking against.
Speaking against, and then you can move your
I'll jump
amendment.
in then.
Yes,
Oh, okay. Can I speak against?
you may.
I'd like to move an amendment that what was just discussed is fine, so happy to go with Monday to Sunday from 5 to 7. My only amendment would be that instead of B, which is now A, that we remove the 20 individual instances in 12-month period and all of that, and the logbook, we remove any of that, and we change it to read what is suggested, that was truck movements outside of daylight hours are limited to 1 entry and 1 exit in any overnight period between 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. Sorry, I can.
So I got to daylight hours are limited to
1 entry
1 entry,
and 1 exit
1 exit.
in any overnight period between 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. That's it.
Christmas period.
And can I speak to that?
Do you want to go seconder first?
Second, please.
Seconder for that?
I'll second that.
Atkinson, you're it. Councillor Gillespie?
So justification for that
Sorry,
is,
Mr. President, just a point of order. I don't believe the seconder of the substantive motion can actually second the amendment motion as well. You
Okay.
may need to get another seconder. If you could just give me a second, I'll just double check in the standing orders. If that's correct.
Okay, is there another seconder for that one? Councillor Davies is happy to second that. So, the brief. Councillor Gillespie?
okay, thank you. So justification for that is a bit along the lines of Councillor Hutch with the, we've already spent a lot of staff time and ratepayers' time and everything on this case, and I just think it's a bit unreasonable for the proponent to have to keep a logbook, and who's policing that? Like, are we going to be checking that every 2 months, every 3 months? Like, it's just a bit unreasonable to expect that level of maintaining your books, and then the reflective, then that flows down to staff having to manage that, they have to go out and check that, like, it just brings a whole lot more unnecessary work for everyone, really. And with the amendment, it still limits what they've got to do, and I just think added to the time change and the days of the week, I think that would holistically work for hopefully keeping everybody happy and not making it too unreasonable on everybody.
Councillor Davies?
No, sorry. I agree what Councillor Gillespie is saying. I think everything is pretty much what she said. I sort of agree with. I think staff time, we just want to get rid of. We don't want to keep them doing this all the time. I think we've had enough time, and I think we should just support what Councillor Gillespie is saying.
Thanks, Councillor Davies. Anyone speaking against that amendment? Councillor Farron?
In principle, I agree. However, in principle, I agree. However, there are certain, the 5 a.m, when coupled with a 5 a.m, around Christmas period, other holiday periods, etc., may make it a little bit challenging to do that every day, 365 days of the year. So there may be a small parameter around that, excluding public holidays possibly. And in light of having a break in what the health safety HSE type approach as well, it's good to have a break. So just highlighting that and I'm not sure if I'm going to pitch an amendment, but excluding public holidays.
Foreshadowing an amendment?
Yes.
Okay. That effort. Required. Any further for? Okay, yeah, look, I'll quickly speak against. As I said before, it would be a bridge too far to have open slather. We've gone for one in and one out. That's effectively what they've been asking for. So it is open slather. We've still got to keep mindful of the fact of where it's at. Am I allowed to ask a quick question of the applicant? Peter, do you keep a logbook? So you've got a logbook of your hours anyway, haven't you? So, yeah, councillors, the applicant has got a logbook. Part of his requirements as a heavy vehicle operator, so it's not going to be too onerous to keep that filled in. And with the substantive motion, there is that 20 instances when it's needed. And we've included Sundays, so it's 7-day-a-week operation. I'd like to think the poor man is having a rest sometimes, so.
He doesn't work 365 days a year.
No.
And to be fair, the issue with the hours is that Peter loads up to leave for the next day. You know, he might load during the day on a Sunday to leave early on a Monday, and it's all over the place. It's unlike a regular job, 9 to 5. So
As you know, it's contracted.
Yeah, look, I understand that, and look, there's probably people loading horses up there at 5 o'clock in the morning as well. So there is actually.
I'm very mindful of every neighbour.
Society has changed in that people are on the move earlier. That's why I think 6 o'clock's probably a bit restrictive. That's why I'm happier with the 5. But to have it, I think there does need to be a rest at some stage, both for the operator and the people around. So to have that, it's not a total ban from 7 till 5 overnight, but there is an intent there that try to keep those movements outside that overnight period. Any further for?
So,
Again.
when you say 4, which one are we talking about?
We're still talking about Stacey's. Your 4? Yep.
Sorry. So I do agree with you around rest and relaxation. I understand that, but I don't think that is our job to dictate that. And I do think that limiting this based on a complaint from one party is probably quite a concern.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Thanks. Against? Wish to close?
Yes, I do wish to close. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about health and safety and having a rest and making sure it doesn't work 365 days a year. Like, I don't think that's our business to justify whether we shouldn't constrain whether he's potentially going to work that or not. He runs his own business. Health and safety is part of that own business. We shouldn't say just because we think like he could work 365, that's not our role to say, well, we're not going to open up the hours just in case he decides to. That's not the council's position at all. So I'm a bit curious as to why that's even relevant. And that, I just think that shouldn't even be coming into it because that's his business as a business owner. We don't go around to all the other businesses and say, how long are you working? Question, with your logbook, do you have to present that to Shire staff currently? No? So whether he keeps a logbook for his business, but this item, if A or B or whatever it is actually saying that he has to keep a logbook, and then this would have to come to council, not to council, but to staff to check that and mitigate that and make sure that he's not doing any more movements. So that whether he has to keep a logbook on his own business, that's fine, but we're asking him to keep a logbook to then go to staff, and then staff have to do work around that, which is my whole point of creating more work for staff where it's really not necessary. So just really consider when you're voting on this item, the effect this is going to have not only as staff. We always hear that staff are overworked and can't get enough hours in the day to do what they have to do, and this is just increasing that, and then increasing time. Ratepayers have to end up paying for that, and something else is missing out because they're spending too much time micromanaging a business that's not necessary. Thank you.
The councillors will put the amendment to the vote. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Against? 3. So that motion will be carried 5-3. Against. Okay, councillors, the substantive motion is now changed to what's on the screen. You're against. Any for the substantive motion as it stands? Against? Okay, councillors, I'll close. In closing, I will speak further for it. It has been changed a whisker, but as we are trying to find a solution to this item, we're happy to support it. Councillor Gillespie, you've mentioned staff time. Staff did give us an indication of what they preferred. If they're prepared to put time into looking at a logbook, I think that would be suitable to me, but you've got your amendment. Staff don't have to worry about logbooks. Peter's still got to do his logbook. So with the 1 in, 1 out overnight, come and go a bit more often between 5 and 7 as required. I will hope that will keep the applicants on the go. With that, councillors, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That's none. 8 is it. Councillor Trevathan can come back in, please. Theo. Councillor Trevathan, that was passed with some changes to the officer recommendation. The timing is an hour earlier start, but the restriction on overnight, there is the option to move in and out once overnight between 7 and 5. So it's been approved as such. Okay.
Mr. President, I just want to clarify my advice. Councillor Hutchinson could have seconded that motion.
Okay.
He just couldn't have moved it after there's been spoken to it. So once you've spoken to a motion, you can't move a different, or spoken against it, you can't move a different one. But he could have seconded. I took that you took Councillor Davies as the seconder in that instance, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep. Something to add to next week's mock meeting. Okay, councillors, on to community economic development and the Ready for Adventure Expo. We've got an impartiality interest declaration from the manager HR. And the officer recommendation is on page 24.
Through the chair, if I could just, on behalf of all other officers involved, we obviously have an impartiality interest, being knowing the manager HR and working with us. So I just declare that now. There's impartiality interest.
Okay. Move. Councillor Gillespie moving. Councillor Hutchinson seconding. Councillor Gillespie, wish to speak?
Look, I will. Yeah, I just think we acknowledge the conflict of interest, but I don't really feel like it changes anything. All the, the bands, there's been a list of bands that have gone out there and these guys are available, so it'd be fabulous. Can't wait to hear our staff out there singing.
Councillor Hutchinson?
I have nothing further to add.
Anyone against? Wish to close?
No.
Okay, councillors, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. 12.4, Infrastructure Directorate. On page 27, the Burracup Change Room Design and Construct. I've got an impartiality interest from Councillor Davies and Councillor Janor on this item. Resolutions on page 27. I'm happy to move. Councillor Janor seconding. Any discussion required on this, councillors? Okay, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thanks, councillors. Thanks, staff, for getting us there on this one. Okay, 12.4.2, the Calgallup Regional Park Interpretive Signs Location. Councillor Gillespie's declared a proximity interest in this and is leaving the room. Page 35. What's the recommendation there, councillors? I'm happy to move it as it stands. Councillor Janor second.
Sorry? Has there been a preferred option put across for this site, or is this just trying to get going through without discussion?
I've got nothing to say. Councillor Jean, you wish to speak?
Yeah, if I could, I put out an email just to councillors, the other day. I wanted to get my head around what, Councillor Webster said, meant when she said that walking down that path, that where the sign was proposed was the first glimpse you got of the bridge and out towards the river mouth. And that is true, and I sent some photos out with that email as well. But where that signage is, that is true, it would block that view. If you brought the sign only 5 metres upriver, there's more bush there that would, and you would not then block that view down to the bridge. So if this is the final resting place, it would be good if it could just get brought back upriver a shade, so you didn't block that view heading south, or heading down towards the coast.
Councillor Jean, just a quick question on that then. Is this to within that much, or is there up and down the river a bit?
Through the chair, initially there was coordinates put into the resolution, but I think coordinates would be somewhat nonsensical to put in the space. If councillors want to, obviously we're working off the figures that's illustrated there. If you want to in your resolution say, or to be moved 5 metres to the east of that diagram, then that would give effect to what Councillor Jimmy was talking about, and officers will then need to want it to be installed for.
What you're looking at?
Look, to be honest, I think so. I think that's what would be best. It wouldn't block that view there, because there is only a small window in between a couple of trees where you do see it, and it is a nice view for want of more. But yeah, it would only be a movement of 5 metres if this is the actual location where we've got on the illustration on figure 3.
Okay, so we probably need to move the resolution, change.
Do we need to be that specific though in the location?
I think there's been consultation undertaken specific to the location, and that's why the locations come up. If you prefer to move it by 5 metres, I would suggest you include that in your resolution to say that council approves the location of the proposed Galbella Regional Park interpretive signs on the Eaton foreshore 5 metres to the east of what is indicated on the diagram below. And that would give effect to what you were saying.
Would there be any merit in someone going down there and just putting a couple of star pickets in there and marking where it's going to be so we know where it is? Would there be any merit in that?
Tony, the fact you've been down there and had a look, if you reckon it's 5 metres, I'm happy with 5 metres from the dot. It gives the staff something to work off when they get DBCA in. Is that enough?
Mr. President, yes, what we can do as well, if I don't know if council can say approximately 5 metres, and then we can put a stake in there, give councillors, we'll just put a stake in.
Decision here today.
Right. Approximately 5 metres, that'll be fine, we can do that.
Or you could describe a bit further what your intent is, to say approximately 5 metres to the east of what is indicated on the diagram below in order to minimise the impacts on the views towards the bridge and inlet. Is that correct?
Perfect wordsmithing.
Thank you.
Happy
Can
to
I ask a
move that.
question?
Second. Yep. So we've just got, just hang on, Hutch, please. So we've just got a bit of a change to the motion. Sorry, we've just got a bit of a change to the motion.
To the east.
Both the mover and seconder are happy with that? Yes? Any questions? Councillor Hutchinson.
The comment that Councillor Lorentz made earlier on in our email about
Safety.
some bullfed hiding behind it and doing the wrong thing. Is that, do we have those issues around Eaton? I don't think we have, but do you think it's an issue? That's all, that comment that Crystal made, I thought was quite relevant. and I'm just throwing it out there.
Councillor Wrench, yes.
Yeah, so it's certainly something that you tend to look at, so I guess my query is, was that a factor with the positioning originally? So the original planning around the positioning, did it take into account safety and whether there could be opportunity given that position was chosen, or was there another reason that position was chosen?
That's the spot the DBCA came up with and staff, and we talked about it at a workshop, there was a bit of discussion. Couldn't nail it then, so that's why we're nailing it now.
Sorry, through the chair, if I may, before the director gets involved too much. DBCA actually originally proposed it to be right next to the toilet facilities at the car park. The concern from officers' perspective at that point in time was that that would then appear as if our playground that's run by the Shire is actually a DBCA playground and part of the Golgata Park. So we suggested that they look for alternative locations along the foreshore. It was then workshopped through the Eaton Foreshore Working Group that developed a concept plan. And as part of that concept plan, this location was picked. The detail about designing out crime hasn't really been part of that conversation, to my knowledge. In terms of the design of these types of signs, there are a number of them along the Golgata Park. I think this may be the last one that they need to install. And we haven't heard any particular concerns about that at this point in time. So no, it wasn't considered in the location, but a location somewhere along the foreshore was identified through a process, and that concept plan was then endorsed by council last year. So that's why we come back with that location.
So, sorry, is it possible then, when we're looking at the approximately 5 metres, to just confirm that that would not then create some type of risk? Because it definitely is an issue. And I think it does need to be. It's not whether we've currently got issues, but we don't want to be creating a safety issue.
Yeah, through Mr. President, councillors, it's a hard one. I suppose any time we put a fixed solid structure up, whether it's a toilet block or a sea container or dense vegetation or something, it creates that opportunity for crime. I'm not aware that we do have any crime there, or not that I'm aware of. We can have a look at it. We can trim the vegetation if that'll help, but the issue is it will be a solid structure. Someone, wherever it is, can hide behind it. If we put it on this side of the pathway, someone can hide on the other side of the pathway.
Sorry, through the chair. We'll certainly take that into consideration when we're placing it there. It is not it's something you can hide behind when you're standing in front of it, but when you're coming from the east, you'll actually see behind it, and also when you're coming from the west, you'll be able to see behind it, so it wouldn't be an ideal hiding spot for anyone, because anyone else would be able to see past that. So it's not an enclosed structure, it's simply a two-dimensional sign, if I can put it that way. So there should still be visibility, and when we are sighting it then, we'll make sure that that is still possible.
Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal. Thanks, Andre. And I think even the pictures on page 38, it just does show that those eagle wings on it probably make it a bit harder to get in behind it. So hopefully create a problem. Anyway, we have a resolution there. Councillor Dawes spoken for, any against? Okay, councillors, happy to close if we've made an adjustment, and we'll see some signs there. Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? None? No. Unanimous. Councillor Gillespie can come back in. Thanks, Leo. Councillor Gillespie, that's passed as per the officer recommendation with just the slight adjustment of 5 metres off the river.
West or east?
East. Okay, item 12.4.3, the Ferguson Volunteer Bushfire Brigade Shed Extension. I've declared any partiality interest in this one as I'm a member of the Ferguson Bushfire Brigade. Resolution's there on page 41. Councillor Hutchinson moving, Councillor Janor seconding. Wish to speak, Councillor Hutch?
No, I think it's a good idea using our own people, help with their knowledge and experience, and yeah, let's get it happening. Let's make it happen for the volunteers.
Councillor Janor?
No, I just think when we see an opportunity like this, we grasp it and get moving with it, because any delay just adds cost to any project we try and do. So, yep, so get it moving and get some support for our volunteers. So, yep, we'll see.
Thanks, Councillor Janor. Anyone against? Need to close, Councillor Hutchinson, Harry?
No, let's keep the show on the road.
Okay, councillors, put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thanks, councillors. Okay, into Corporate and Governance Directorate and 12.5.1, the setting of meeting dates for 2026 on page 46. Good forward, yeah.
It'll work enough.
I'm happy to move that, councillors. Councillor Gillespie seconding. At A and B.
Mr. President, sorry, it just occurred to me that the issue that Councillor Janor raised in terms of attendance at 50%, did you want to include there maybe a request to the CEO to write to the Minister and see whether or not there's a way to give an exemption around that, outside of that?
Yep.
If that may be required?
Please request as part of this recommendation that the CEO writes to the Minister. See if there is an exemption to go above the 50% threshold on remote attendance.
So we'll make that alternative resolution C.
Yes, officer recommendation, unless you want to make it part 6.
That council requests the CEO to write to the Minister for Local Government seeking support for an exemption to the 50% attendance requirement, in-person attendance requirement, I should say. To be applied should a councillor require it.
Just maybe an addition to that, if I may. They will probably want an upper limit, so maybe it's a 60% or a 65, depending on how many additional you need. So they may want more clarification, just avoiding that.
It's at the Shire President's discretion anyway.
Yeah. Are you comfortable with that as a resolution? And I know we're making it up on the fly, it's just taking into consideration, giving it some further thought since last week when it was raised. It's interesting to me that there is a willing and able councillor that wants to participate and can participate actively, although maybe potentially remotely, and the rule says can't do it even remotely. So it's maybe just asking for an exemption of that rule, and we have raised this previously with the Director General, but we haven't actually raised it with the Minister. So it's just, if you want me to write to the Minister, then there's now the opportunity to maybe raise it.
I think that would be a great option to write to the Minister. And I don't go over that 50% threshold all the time. I didn't go over it this year, but there is the potential for that to happen, and rather than be at a.
Are you debating or are you just asking a question?
Just asking a question. No, it's probably borderline debate, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you can get the debate in a minute.
Yeah, no, we'll wind that back.
Okay, councillors, with that addition of part C, which I've moved and Councillor General has seconded, it's all there for the next 12 months as per requirements. And the extra bit to try and resolve a bit of an issue that we don't want to arise, should Councillor General need to attend remotely rather than just not attend. Councillor General, you wish to speak?
Yeah, I do. First off, thanks very much for being so considerate, and this is to all the council and members of the Shire Dardanup, being so considerate and allowing me the flexibility to still be a part of the council and still maintain my work commitments that I need to. I don't always go over the 50%, and I think it's only happened once in the time that I've been on council. But I would hate to be in a position where I am at that 50% threshold and I need to attend a meeting remotely, and it causes, and me not being able to attend, causes the meeting to not be able to go ahead because there's not a quorum. So to have that request go to the minister is great, and we raised it as a motion at the Walgett conference this year. So there is definitely the need for it, and I think if there's the control in place by and the discipline of control by the president to not let it be a free for all, but that have actual reason for attending remotely, I think there's no reason why it can't be a solid addition to the way we do business as a council. Thanks.
Councillor Janor. Anyone against? Further for? Councillor Hutch.
Yes, I'd like to support that. I think the people in power need to realise that Western Australia's prosperity is built on for the last 20 years, 30 years, has been built on the fly-in, fly-out operations. And I know in other councils around the state, they're actually battling to get numbers to form a council. So I believe that the people in power need to step into the next millennium and support our the people that are very interested in our community, to support the fly-in, fly-out process, and move on with it. And I think it's a very good, to write a letter to the minister is a great idea. So it's a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hutch. Marie, can you just roll back, please, to recommendation B? I think I've made a blue either. We've got Councillor Gillespie moving A and B, and then I've allowed Councillor Janor to do recommendation C. Councillor Gillespie, you happy to? Councillor Gillespie's got a second resolution C. And you did speak or not speak or wish to speak? Okay, well, I can close on that, and yeah, I think we've made our intentions clear, and as Councillor Hutch said, the mining industry is quite an important part of our component, but as we said with the previous item on the agenda tonight, things have changed in the way we do business, so this makes a bit more flexibility for Councillor Janor, so be it, or any councillor that needs that requirement. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. 6 councillors. 4.5.2, Quarterly Corporate Performance Report, Quarter 1, July to September, page 51, the officer recommendations there. Councillor Trevathan, I may be missing you all night. That's fair time. Second that, Councillor Davies. Councillor Trevathan, you wish to speak?
No,
It's all there.
It's all there, yep.
Thanks, Councillor Trevathan. Councillor Davies? You wish to speak against? I'll put that to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? That's unanimous. 6 councillors. 12.5.3, monthly statement of financial activity for the period ended 31st of October 2025. Resolutions page 54. Councillor Gillespie moving, Councillor Janor seconding. Any discussion required? Put it to the vote. All those in favour?
Sorry, one question, and I apologise for not.
It's not a schedule of paid accounts.
Okay.
This is monthly statement of financial activity.
Oh, I've jumped page.
It's a schedule of paid accounts.
Apologies. Apologies.
I can read your mind. All those in favour? That's unanimous, thanks councillors. On to page 59, court schedule of paid accounts as at the 31st of October 2025. Councillor Denor, you've got a question.
I do have a question. Apologies for not sending this through previously, but the line item, it is 1635 regarding the South West Audio Visual AV system for council chambers. Is that because we've had an upgrade in here or a replacement for the audio visual system in chambers, or is that a different item?
Through the chair, that related to the addition for additional equipment and extending the extra 2 tables at the end and additional cabling that we need to have with that. Manager IT has just left the room, so
Yeah, he has.
confirm with him, but I believe that's what it was about.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just let council know that Mel Reid, our Manager of Community Development, has just joined via Teams. Thank you.
Thanks Cindy. Confirm you can hear us, Mel?
Me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I can hear you, thank you.
I can hear you too. Okay. Schedule of paid accounts, resolutions on page 59, councillors. Councillor Hutchinson moving. Councillor Gillespie seconding. We've had a question, any more questions? All those in favour? It's unanimous, thanks councillors. On to committees. On page 96, Local Emergency Management Committee minutes. Ready to move. Councillor Webster seconding. The vote, all those in favour? It's unanimous, thanks councillors. Okay, on to item 13, elected member motions of which previous notice has been given. There are none. There is no new business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of meeting. No more public questions. Matters behind closed doors. Councillor Gillespie moving, we go behind closed doors. Councillor Draw seconding, all those in favour? Behind closed doors. Councillor Gillespie's moving, we come back from behind closed doors. Councillor Webster seconding, all those in favour? It's unanimous. I will now close the meeting, the next meeting will be the 17th of December 2025. Thanks councillors, thanks staff.
Cool.